We can't change the past. But we can change the future.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we'll be looking at big budget movies that were meant to inspire multiple installments, but couldn't even get past one entry.
Did you break it already?
I didn't break it. Okay, it's out of juice.
Number 20, Mortal Engines.
You never head south in the Outlands. Not ever.
With Lord of the Rings writers Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philippa Boyens penning the script for this adaptation, and many of that trilogy's cast and crew returning, things seemed promising at first for Mortal Engines. The film looked to emulate the success of other young adult series following young female protagonists through a post-apocalyptic world. However, this was no Hunger Games. The film's massive scope may have been too much for first-time director and longtime Jackson collaborator Christian Rivers. While the film's ruined landscape and Predator cities looked incredible thanks to Weta Digital's special effects, it also came with an insane budget. Its abysmal opening and even worse hold led to it losing an estimated $175 million, dooming any sequel plans.
You're gonna kill me.
For a little while.
Number 19, Battle Los Angeles.
Defensive lines are being set up in Boston, and at 13:15 Zulu time, we lost communications with San Francisco and San Diego.
Of all the commercial products solely designed to manipulate the male gender, Battle Los Angeles is one of the most blatant. The film is overstuffed with everything macho, including the American military, lethal aliens, explosions, video game action sequences, and Michelle Rodriguez as a tough soldier. Maybe this would be cool if there was something of substance backing it all up. But Battle Los Angeles has about as much nutritional value as a certain Michael Bay franchise. Unlike Transformers, though, this film lost the battle and the war with audiences.
What the hell are all these red marks here?
Means they're gone.
What, you mean the units got moved?
Wiped out.
All of them?
All of them.
Number 18, Madam Web.
I'm going to protect you guys.
We'll protect each other.
Yeah, we're in this together. Right?
Sony's desire to emulate the success of the MCU led them to create a number of superhero films with whatever rights they held, including the ill-fated Madam Web. Cassandra Webb, an elderly clairvoyant with a visual disability and paralysis in her legs, was pulled from the Spider-Man fringes to the center stage. She was reimagined as a young EMT, which already snips a lot of the character's intrigue. Dakota Johnson was joined by Sydney Sweeney trying her best, and a constantly redubbed Tahar Rahim, along with Adam Scott as a shoehorned-in Uncle Ben. The plot pulled from parts of Spider-Man's lore that are forgotten, despised, or both. And while it did promise multiple Spider-Women, they didn't receive their powers or costumes in this film, or any other for that matter.
We don't know exactly when your vision takes place, so I'm giving us a 10-year range just to be safe.
Number 17, the ATeam.
Russ, this is too big an enterprise. We can't let these bozos do this.
An ATeam movie had been in development since the mid-90s. By the time the film finally came out in 2010, it was a little too late. While not a colossal flop, modern moviegoers were borderline uninterested in seeing a screen adaptation of an 80s series starring Oscar Schindler, Phil, from The Hangover, that one guy from District 9, and not Mr. T. It's fitting that the ATeam never had a plan B since director Joe Carnahan announced that a sequel won't be happening.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Number 16, Speed Racer.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You don't climb into a T-180 to be a driver. You do it because you're driven.
Following the success of the Matrix trilogy, people were excited to see what the Wachowskis would do next. The answer was Speed Racer, a film that had been in developmental hell since the early 90s. Though the filmmakers did make it truly their own. Speed Racer emulated the anime on which it was based with its bright colors and over-the-top characters. Its plot about grit and determination triumphing over corporate machinations and evil capitalists was surprisingly earnest, and people hated it. Overwhelmingly negative critical reviews and an abysmal box office return killed a planned sequel. Over the years, however, the film has earned a much-deserved reappraisal, frequently hailed as an underrated masterpiece.
But I want you to know, that door is always open. You can always come back. Because I love you.
Number 15. I Am Number 4.
In the meantime, your powers will only draw attention. You keep yourself in check. You understand?
So I got all these powers, but I'm not allowed to use them?
Exactly.
One of several teen romance films that desperately wanted to be the next Twilight, I Am Number 4 tells another story of an attractive outsider who falls for an ordinary girl in a quiet town. The only difference is that the protagonist is a sexy, brooding alien with no personality instead of a sexy, brooding vampire with no personality. Granted, I Am Number 4 has a few more action set pieces, likely included in the hopes that they'd attract a wider audience. But in the end, the film didn't attract much of anyone.
You slow us down, I'll shoot you myself.
And I believe you. Can we go now?
Number 14. Van Helsing.
Don't wish for death so quickly. I intend for you to be quite useful.
Just as he did with The Mummy, Stephen Sommers brought many of Universal's classic monsters to life in this reimagining of Dracula's greatest foe, with characters like Frankenstein's monster, Mr. Hyde, the Wolfman, and of course Dracula himself. Sequels, potential spin-offs, and even a TV show were expected. Universal was so confident that the studio paid to keep the sets and began developing a follow-up before Van Helsing even opened. However, many monster movie fans were unhappy with the transformation of the older, stoic Abraham Van Helsing into the action hero Gabriel Van Helsing, with his gadgets and quippy dialogue. Despite Hugh Jackman's best efforts and some moderate success at the box office, the awful reception drove a stake through the planned sequel's hearts.
We've shot him, stabbed him, clubbed him, sprayed him with holy water, staked him through the heart, and still he lives. Do you understand? No one knows how to kill Dracula.
Number 13. Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time.
There must be a reason why you can't take your eyes off me.
I don't trust you, and you're not my type.
A franchise based on a video game can be a risky proposition. While in recent years, some have found success, many more would-be franchises sputtered and died before ever getting a sequel script. Such was the case with Disney's Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, with studio heads referring to it as their next Pirates of the Caribbean. On the surface, the similarities, a swashbuckling historical figure based on popular IP, seemed clear. However, the parallels were surface level at best, and it failed to duplicate the success of Pirates. Critics weren't fond of the film, and rightly criticized it for its whitewashing, while video game fans thought it deviated too much from the game on which it was based.
How can I trust the man that breached the walls of my city?
Well, I'm starting to think I'm no longer the same man who breached those walls.
Number 12. Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events.
I must say, you're a gloomy-looking bunch. Why so glum?
Our parents just died.
Oh, yes, of course.
To be fair, A Series of Unfortunate Events was a fun adaptation. It captured the darkly whimsical spirit of Lemony Snicket's books, and Jim Carrey was born to play Count Olaf. With 13 novels in the series, though, there was simply too much material to squeeze into one or even several films. As a result, A Series of Unfortunate Events felt a bit rushed, while failing to attract an enduring audience. Luckily, the TV series developed by Netflix had better luck in that regard.
Hello, 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 children.
Number 11. The Lone Ranger.
Great shot.
That was supposed to be a warning shot.
In that case, not so good.
Still desperate to recreate the success of the Pirates franchise, Disney reunited with star, director, producer, and writers of the original trilogy for The Lone Ranger. Like those films, it also carried a massive price tag, with an estimated budget of $225 to $250 million, even after budgetary concerns were raised by Disney, which caused production delays. Hopes that budget would be recouped at the box office were destroyed when it opened against Despicable Me 2, which, despite being made for a third of the Lone Ranger's budget, made triple that weekend. It fared no better critically and wasn't helped by the controversy surrounding Johnny Depp playing a Comanche warrior.
Wait a minute. You're saying you're Tonto? The Tonto?
Number 10. The Golden Compass.
In my world, scholars invented an alethiometer. A golden compass.
From a technical standpoint, the Golden Compass had all the right tools to bring Philip Pullman's celebrated novel to life. The film even won an Oscar for its jaw-dropping special effects. But as beautiful as the film looked, The story's complex themes regarding religion and free will were lost in the midst of all the visual eye candy. Fans of the books were disappointed. Those who never read the book were just confused, and director Chris Weitz has practically disowned the film, which he claimed was ruined due to the studio's involvements.
What, Mother? I heard you was an orphan, and your uncle only left you here because nobody wanted you. Come here and say that.
Number 9. Power Rangers.
Me and 4 kids from Angel Grove found a spaceship buried underground.
What?
I'm pretty sure I'm a superhero.
While not a totally horrendous bomb, Power Rangers severely underperformed at the box office, with the film barely turning a profit. Similarly, while its reviews weren't overly negative, they weren't particularly good either, splitting critics down the middle. So why is a mild disappointment middling film even here? It's because of the overwhelming confidence that Lionsgate would get not just another movie, but at least 5 more. It was revealed that the film was meant to be the first in an arc that could span 6 to 8 movies, with much being held back for the potential sequels. For instance, fan favorite Green Ranger Tony Oliver, who was teased in a post-credits scene that would ultimately go nowhere.
Tommy Oliver. Cranston.
That might have been my fault. I'm so sorry.
Number 8. Aragon.
You have powers you do not acknowledge, but there is a doom upon you. Part of it lies in a death that rapidly approaches.
Adaptations of Harry Potter and The Lord of the Rings were huge financial successes in the early 2000s. Therefore, another adaptation of a popular fantasy book series seemed like a no-brainer, and Aragon got the green light. Plans were in place to shoot the second and third installments back-to-back after what director Stephen Fangmeyer assumed would be a highly successful first project. The planned trilogy would never come to fruition, however, as fans of the book were united with critics in their disdain for the film. Despite it crashing and burning, fans remained passionate with the release of further books, petitioning for a rebooted TV series. Those prayers have seemingly been answered, with a show reportedly in the works for Disney+.
Get other spells if you use them before you're ready. We'll kill you.
Number 7. John Carter.
If you kindly just stand behind me, this might get dangerous.
Disney's lucky that they've produced some of the biggest franchises of all time, because the company has also gambled away countless millions on some of the biggest bombs, like John Carter. This space adventure tried nothing new, borrowing elements from Pirates of the Caribbean, Avatar, Thor, and every popular blockbuster in recent memory. It's kind of ironic that a film based on a revolutionary sci-fi novel and directed by the brilliant Andrew Stanton would amount to such a mundane and uninspired waste of time, not to mention money.
All right. You've got me. I surrender.
Number 6. Warcraft.
If my people are to survive, Goldat must be destroyed.
Legendary Pictures truly swung for the fences when deciding to adapt one of the biggest video game franchises of all time in Warcraft. They did this by hiring acclaimed and, at the time, upcoming director Duncan Jones, giving the film a massive budget to fully realize the world of Azeroth. All involved expected the adaptation to birth a long-running fantasy series. While the end result undoubtedly looked spectacular, it was a hollow spectacle. The script left much to be desired and was torn apart by critics. Its massive budget and marketing campaign meant that, despite a healthy take at the box office, it failed to be profitable.
One orc cannot kill a world at a time. Are you sure? Look around you. Does it not remind you of something?
Number 5. Dragonball Evolution.
You've never done this before, have you?
Yes. Many times. In my head.
Dragon Ball has existed for decades through multiple iterations and mediums, and was incredibly popular in Japan, the US, and the world over. So, to studio execs in the late aughts, it was ripe for an incredible and long-spanning live-action franchise. Hollywood wisely decided to adapt the beloved manga and anime with an eye on making multiple entries for years to come. However, they not so wisely decided to deviate heavily from the source material, turning the cherished series into a generic action flick. Perhaps worst of all was the casting of Justin Chatwin as Goku. A few years after its catastrophic release, series creator Akira Toriyama described the movie as bland and something he could not call Dragon Ball.
I'm
close to a breakthrough. I can feel it. The key must be the other Dragon Balls. I have to have them all.
Number 4. Green Lantern.
There is no way you can succeed. You will die, Hal Jordan.
Well, I'll die trying.
In an age of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Dark Knight trilogy, Green Lantern came off like a multi-million-dollar after-school special. Although the cast was blameless for the most part, the effects were CGI overkill, the villains were literally cartoon characters, and the plot never took off. Fortunately, it at least looks like DC is trying to get their act together with Nathan Fillion newly cast as the new Green Lantern, an actor who seems perfect for the role after so many years of voicing the character. We can only hope the writing will be stronger this time around.
I feel your fear growing. You will be dead soon.
Number 3. Fantastic Four.
You always said I had the potential to do something important. Who's to say this isn't it?
Marvel's first family have always had a rocky relationship, no pun intended, with film adaptations. After some moderate success in the 2000s, Fox decided to give the franchise a gritty reboot when they brought in director Josh Trank. Problems arose from the start with bickering over the script during pre-production and a number of complaints aimed at Trank's behavior during filming. Allegedly, he and star Miles Teller almost even got into a fistfight on set. Problems were compounded by massive reshoots, leading to a film where actors' facial hair and obvious wigs varied between scenes. Upon release, the film was widely panned and considered one of the worst superhero movies ever made, with its announced sequel's release date quietly removed from Fox's schedule.
The matter from Earth is being converted to energy. We need to stop Victor. He's the source.
Number 2. The Last Airbender.
I'm taking you to my ship. If you don't come, I'll burn down this village.
I'll go with you.
Seeing how Avatar, The Last Airbender was pretty much perfect to begin with, M. Night Shyamalan had no reason to make a live-action Cliff Notes film adaptation. Given how phenomenal the animated series remains, though, shouldn't some of that greatness have worked its way into The Last Airbender? Nope. Instead, Shyamalan messed with core elements, while stripping the story of any humor, heart, or magic, and said, "Isn't my version so much better, you guys?" Fans around the world responded with a resounding no, bringing this new Avatar cycle to an end before it even started.
I don't think that's a good idea. We started a rebellion. Try to talk him out of it.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Universal's Dark Universe.
You have been selected as the vessel for the ultimate evil.
Plans for an entire slate of interconnected monster films, including Bride of Frankenstein and The Invisible Man, with the first to be released, The Mummy, were announced as an attempt for Universal to get into the cinematic universe trend. On paper, it made sense with their monster movies of the 1930s to the 50s serving as the original cinematic universe. The official Dark Universe Twitter account even posted a heavily photoshopped picture with the announced leads of the films. Upon release, The Mummy contained a number of Easter eggs and teases for future films and had Russell Crowe as a Nick Fury-esque Mr. Hyde. After the film's disastrous opening, any future projects were delayed and then outright canceled, killing the cinematic universe before it ever lived.
Somewhere in there, fighting to get out, is a good man.
You don't know that.
Which never-to-be film franchise do you think was the biggest mistake? Let us know in the comments below.
This is all my fault.
That we can agree on.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.